Hello everyone. So welcome you all to Ashok Tutorials Meghalaya's first MTET channel. So my dear friends, today we are going to start with Unit 4, Child Development and Pedagogy. Alright, and the topic we have here is Naturalistic and Participant Observation. So we know that there are different types of child study methods. How you can study a child? You can study a child through case study, you can study a child through anecdotal records, through reflective journals, through naturalistic behaviors, and through participant observations, and many more, right? But today in this class we are going to talk specifically about naturalistic and participant observation. So these are the two types of observation methods in which we study the child. One is in the natural setting, another one is in the observational setting, which means by observing the child. All right, natural means what? Natural means something where the child belongs. Or if I give an example to you, it can be like this example is not related, but I'm just giving you, right? For example, when we let the animals stay in the jungle, which is their natural habitat, right? So the animals, they like to stay in jungles. So what is national park? These national parks, these biosphere reserves, these wildlife sanctuaries, these are the places where the animals are allowed to stay in their original jungles, in the original forest, right? So that is the natural setting. So when we talk about the child study, we let the child in the natural setting, that may be in the classroom or in the school or at home or anywhere in the playground, but we are not interfering anything artificially. All right, the child is behaving and acting in a natural manner. All right, so let's see what we have here. Observation is one of the most effective methods used in studying the behavior, interactions, and learning patterns of children. Two commonly used observational techniques in child development and pedagogy are naturalistic observation and participant observation. So, what is observation? Observation means you observe, you see. Suppose you stay in a building and you climb up and down the staircase. So, do you know how many steps you climb up and how many steps you come down every day? Or you stay in an area where there are 5 shops. So, do you know actually that are there really 5 shops? Are you being observant? So, many a times we as individuals, as people, we forget to observe the things. And in this present scenario of mobile phones, we even tend to forget more. Now, I will give you an example which you all can relate. What is that? Suppose you remember you're doing something and suddenly you remember, oh, I was supposed to send a WhatsApp message to my friend. But once you pick up the phone, due to notifications, you go to Reels, Instagram, Facebook. After that, when you keep the phone and come back, then again you realize, oh, I picked up the phone just to text my friend, but I could not do, I forgot. Then again you will go and text your friend. So what are these? These are just the example of being not observant, which means we are not observing anything, which means we are not focused, right? So there are two types of observation. Remember, when I'm saying two types, means two types of observation, that is natural observation and participant observation. So first of all, we will see what a natural observation method means. So naturalistic observation definition: naturalistic observation involves observing children in their natural environment, such as at home, in the classroom, on the playground, or in any setting where they feel comfortable and act naturally. So the locations are given here. As I told you that these are the methods by which you study the child. So naturalistic observation is a type of observation in which you study the child in the natural setting. The natural setting can be at home, in the classroom, in the school, or in the playground. But you should make sure that you are not making the child uncomfortable. You have to make sure that the child is comfortable and the child is acting naturally. Many a time what happens is that when children are fighting or children are doing something mischievous, then when they see the teachers, they behave normally, right? So this should not be the case. The child or the children should act naturally in their natural setting, and that only will be called as naturalistic observation method. Now, what are the key features? The researcher or observer does not interfere with the activities or environment. Now you see, suppose you are a teacher So what will you do? You will like to study the child in the natural setting, or you will observe the child, but make sure that you are not interacting with the child, you are not talking to the child directly, or you are not saying that, hey, I am observing you. These things you will not say. You will just observe from far away. From, you will not involve yourself in this method. You will just take care of the child from the long range. You will take care of the child from the distance. All right. Now, behavior is studied as it occurs naturally without any manipulation or artificial settings. Now, as I gave you the example, like if students are doing something mischievous, of course you will see in your class, once the teacher enters, the class is silent, right? But once the teacher goes out, the class is very, very noisy. Why? Because the children, they are just acting, or they are just trying to behave formally when a teacher enters the class, but when the teacher leaves the class, they act naturally how they should be or how they want to write. So this is the difference. So it provides authentic insights into a child's social, emotional, cognitive, and physical development. So during naturalistic observation, you will get to know the authentic information from the child's social, how the child is socially, how he is acting according to the society or not, how he is being, how he is carrying himself in the society, then how emotionally mature the child is he or she emotionally mature or not, then what are the cognitive abilities, or what are the logical abilities, reasoning abilities of the child. Then also you will see how physically fit the child is, whether the child is too obese or too lean and thin, or undernourished or malnourished. So those things can be observed by the researcher or by you and me as teachers, right? Now, advantages: high ecological validity, since observation reflects real life behaviors. So here, when you are observing the child in the natural setting, what happens is that you get high ecological validity, which means you get a large space or large area to observe the child in the real life situation. Helps identify patterns, interaction, and reactions in a non-intrusive manner. And when you are observing a child through naturalistic method, what happens is that you are not interrupting the child. You are not interrupting the child, or you're not interacting with the child. You are not taking part directly, but you are taking part only indirectly. You're just being the observer, right? Useful in understanding how children behave in specific situations or respond to environmental factors. And this method is useful in understanding how the children, they would behave in different situations they are allotted, and how the children, they behave naturally in the environment, how he or she carries himself, how much confidence he or she has, how much the social etiquettes they have, the moral etiquettes they have, what are the problems he or she might be suffering from, or what are the difficulties they have. So everything can be known by the observer, right, in this method. Now, limitations: lack of control over external variables, making it difficult to determine causation. Now, what are some of the problems or cons? Limitations means cons, right? Means the problem which we can have through naturalistic method. So number one is lack of control over external variables, making it difficult to determine causation. Suppose when you study the child in the natural setting, then you might not be so when you study the child in the natural setting, you might not be like, whatever the environment or the ecology the child is exposed to is not under your control, right? It is natural, so it is not under your control. Observe bias can Observer bias can occur if interpretations are subjective. Now, sometimes the observer can be biased. Bias means what? I already taught you in the previous unit. Bias means to support somebody, right? Suppose if you are studying one child of your class, then you might be biased towards him or her. You might say like, she is very fit physically, she is very brilliant mentally, and she is very social and emotionally mature. These things you can be biased on if you are directly the observer of the natural setting of the child. Certain behaviors might not occur during observational period. Yes, so certain behavior the child might not show. All right, when he or she is behaving, they might not show the behavior which they would have shown naturally. So you might miss some of the things, you might miss out. All right. Now, example: observing how a group of children share toys during free play in a classroom setting to understand social interaction skills. Observing how a group of children share toys during free play in a classroom setting to understand social interaction skills. So we can see how the children are sharing their study materials, or how they are sharing the textbooks, or how they are sharing their toys with one another in the classroom, and we can observe. So as teachers, when we go to the class, we observe everybody, right? We are observing who is eating in the class, who is spitting in the class, who is singing in the class, who is making noise in the class, who is studying in the class, who is reading in the class, or who is acting too much in the class, or who is sick. So all these things we observe, right? And how they are interacting with one another. So all these things we observe, and we've come to a conclusion, right? That is called naturalistic observation or naturalistic behavior of the child, right? Naturalistic observation. So now let us continue with participant observation. So you have seen that naturalistic observation is the process in which the child is acting naturally and the observer is not involved, right? But participant observation is different. So what is the difference here? So the difference is that here the observer, the teacher or the researcher himself takes part in the activities the child is doing. So how? Let us see. Definition: participant observation involves the observer actively engaging in the activities of the group being studied while simultaneously observing the behavior of individuals. So this is what I was saying, that the observer himself actively take parts in these participant observation method of child study. So he is observing the child, at the same time he is playing with the child, or he is playing with the children, he is running with the children, he is studying with the children. Whatever they are doing it as a group, and the observer here himself is in the group. All right, what are the key features? The observer becomes part of the group or activity to gain a deeper understanding of the child's behavior. Here the observer himself, he becomes the part of the group, so he is observing the child very, very closely. He is understanding the child in a better way, right? Provides opportunities to observe subtle details that might not be evident through detached observation. So here the teacher or the observer can find out some details which are very, very important, crucial, and which might have been hidden in the natural setting or in other method of observation, right? The observer must carefully balance participation and observation to avoid influencing the natural behavior of the children. However, even though the observer here is taking part in the group activities, engaging himself actively with the children, he should avoid that he is participating in a balanced manner, and he should avoid that his presence does not influence the subject or the child who he is studying. It should be that way that his presence does not affect the child, and the child behaves as he would behave without him, right? So his presence and absence should not make any difference in the behavior of the child. So this is something we as observer or teachers have to take care of when we are studying the child through participant method. Now, what are the advantages of this method? Builds trust and rapport with children, leading to more authentic observation. So when you yourself become the part of the group activity, then the children, they develop trust with you, they develop rapport with you. Rapport means what? Rapport means the understanding, the mutual understanding, right? They understand you, they respect you, and you understand them and respect them. So this is mutual exchange of relationship in which both the learner and the teacher, they have a good connection, a good relationship with each other. Now, allows the observer to experience the context from the perspective of a participant, and this method allows the observer, because he himself is participating, right? Suppose they are playing a football game and the quality of the ball is not that good, then he himself will know, oh yes, the quality of the ball is not good. That's why I can understand, because I am in the ground, so I can understand that the child's behavior might have affected because of the defective football. Or suppose they are in a library and the observer is observing these children, then he will see that the books are limited and the books are all fictional books which do not put any practical impact in the child's life. So he himself is reading the books, he himself is having access to all the books, so he will know the ground reality. Helps uncover complex dynamics and relationship within the group. So taking active part in the participant observation method helps the observer to uncover complex dynamics, all right, and build a good relationship with the group members and with the child who he is studying. Now, what can be the limitations, or what can be the cons, or what can be the problems with participant observation method? Let us see. So, observers' involvement can inadvertently influence the behavior of children, reducing objectivity. Now, if the children, they know that yes, this person, this teacher, or this observer is studying me, studying us, then they might not behave naturally, or it might reduce their objectivity, right? So the children might not behave as they would have behaved in the natural observation method. Difficult to maintain a balance between participating and observation. Yes, here, since the observer or the teacher himself is participating in the group activities or in the group programs, so it might be difficult for him to maintain a balance between participating and at the same time he is observing the learner. So it might be difficult for him, right? Now, time consuming and requires significant effort to integrate into the group, and this process is time consuming because the teacher himself is involved in the process. He is watching the children, and at the same time he is also taking part in all the group activities. So it becomes time consuming and requires significant effort. It requires a large effort and dedication of the observer. What is the example? A teacher observing how a child interacts with peers while participating in a group activity such as building a block tower. Yes, so the teacher can observe how the children, they behave in a group activity. Suppose you have given them to build a block tower, so how much participation is he or she giving to the group? Suppose if you have asked them to decorate the stage, so you can see, like, suppose 10 children are there, so how are they taking part, how actively they are taking part in the group? If they are playing football or cricket, you will observe that how they are actually participating, whether they are participating in the group actively or they are just passively being there for the sake of being in the group. So as teacher you have the access to observe the child in the best way possible. So we have studied the two methods of child study, that is observation method. In observation method we have two types, that is naturalistic observation and participant observation. So I think it will be better if we compare and see what is the difference between these two types of method. But the main basic difference is that in a natural observation method, the teacher or the observer, he is not participating in the process and he is observing the child naturally. But in a participant method, the teacher or the observer himself is taking part in the group activities or actively engaged in all the activities assigned to the children. So he is in the field with the children, so he is participating there, right? But in natural method, the observer is not participating. Now, aspect naturalistic observation and participant observation. So aspect, let us say role of observer. So what is the role of observer if we talk about naturalistic observation? So detached, non-intrusive. So when we talk about naturalistic observation, so here the researcher is not participating in the group, but in participant method you will see actively engaged with participants. So the participant observation, the observer is involved in the group activities. Setting. So you know that natural means, of course, it will be in the natural environment. But when you know about when we talk about participant observation, it is within the group or within the activity. Now, what is the objectivity? So more objective as there is minimal interference. Now we will have more objectivity, or we will have more reliant data collection when we talk about naturalistic behavior, because there is no interruption from the observer side. However, potentially less objective due to involvement. But in participant method, you will see that there is little less objectivity as compared to the naturalistic behavior, naturalistic observation, because of the involvement of the involvement of the observer or the teacher. Now, insight in depth, surface level insights. So insight in depth, so here in naturalistic method is that the insight or the information which the observer collects is from the surface only, from the periphery only. But when we talk about participant observation, here deeper understanding of interaction. Since the observer himself is on the ground, is taking part in all the activities the child he is studying is taking part in, so he know the ground reality. What is the problem if we are playing the football? What can be the problem if we are in the library? What can be the problem? So he is getting the real on ground experience along with the children, right? Now, influence on behavior. So what influence the child can have on the what influence or what effects the observer can have in the child's behavior. In naturalistic method, of course, we know that the observer is studying the child in natural setting. He is not involving himself, so interaction is less or negligible. So that's why he is not affecting the child. All right, it's very minimum that he might be affecting the child's natural behavior. But in participant observation, possible influence due to active participation, you will see that the child might behave artificially. Possible influence due to active participation. So here in participant observation method, you will see that the child might behave artificially because he or she knows that somebody is observing them. Even though the child don't wants to be active in the sports, he or she might show activeness because somebody is observing them. Or if he or she is sick, then they might not show that they are sick because somebody is observing them, and they might fake their social interaction even though they are very introvert. All right, even when they are very introvert, they might try to show that they are extrovert, or they are somebody very friendly and get along easily with the people, right? So these things can happen. All right, so what conclusion we can draw from this? So both naturalistic and participant observation are valuable tools in child development and pedagogy. So both naturalistic behavior or naturalistic observation as well as the participant observation, both are important and both are valuable tools of child study. The choice of method depends on the research objectives and the nature of the behavior being studied. Now, suppose I say that Nengthon, which method would you choose? Naturalistic method or participant method? So Nengthon will decide on which method to choose according to his interest, according to what he wants to achieve, right? While naturalistic observation is ideal for studying spontaneous behavior. So here they are giving a hint that if you want to study the child through naturalistic observation, then it is ideal or it is suitable for studying the spontaneous behavior. So continuous behavior of the child you can study. You can observe the child at school, you can observe the child in market, you can observe the child at home, right? While participant observation provides an in-depth understanding of group dynamics and individual interaction. However, when you are studying the child through participant method, then you understand the on ground reality. You understand how the child is interacting with you and with other peers and friends, and how the child is interacting with the family members and with other teachers, and what are the roles and responsibilities and duties the child is able to show up or perform, right? So these are the things which we know through participant observation method. So I believe that I was able to make you understand these two methods of child study, that is naturalistic observation method and participant observational method. So naturalistic observation method means studying the child in the natural setting, natural environment. You are not participating in naturalistic method. However, if you study the child by participant observation method, then you are participating as observer or as teacher or researcher, and you are taking part in group activities along with the child. Daude, Jane Salwanchin, naturalistic observation ne agana, unad Michael Makswana, observer researcher, Bisha kora may the porayana, Bishani natural setting of porayane, Daugatan song artificially Bisharana Mamakon Tharionja, Bisha school may the behave ka amo, the game reping may behave ka, teacher may behave ka, the game Pagapa Magapa may behave ka, Bajalo may behave ka, Noko may behave ka, classroom may behave ka, Yarangona Simang poraya, Ndioba, the Bisha de Machijane na Abiko observe kind and Machija, and Dioba, Aruna and Tangba participate directly Kajang ne Bisha. Bisharang Kalgr King and the now no Bisharang Baksa Kalgr Joa. Now participate Kajawane na Chela Onisa Bisako observe Kaina. या naturalistic method होते natural environment observe खाएंगा दियोबा जेन सलंजन participant method को गोल्पोआ बा participant observation method निमन गोल्पोआ उनोर दाक्सखाना नासिमांग बिसा को observe खान बाक्साना नासिमांगबा वा बिनी ताकबा खामो बाकरा गेन जे खाए बिसा cricket खालेंगा नदिन नासिमांगबा cricket खालगेन आरो उनु नासिमांग observe खागेन बिसा को नीगेन माइ ताकबा behavior बिसा माइ दकी behave का आरो पेंग्स खारंग माइ दकी behave का ground नो माइ दकी behave का मंदिरांग बक्सा मागबा भागबा बक्सा टीचरांग बक्सा आरो ना अंथांगबा वा ग्रुपो पार्टिसिपेट खाइंगा जगोना मो ना मासिया तंथांग मानसा बिचारा माइ नेकने कानिरांगको छाग्रोंगिंगा निगमन यान डिफरेंस ति गेगनि यान मेथड ऑफ चाइल्ड स्टडी गेगनि मेथड दोंगा गेगनि प्रोसेस दोंगाने चाइल्ड बिचारांगको फरायनि यान ऑब्जर्वेशन के सारा पार्टिसिपेंट ऑब्जर्वेशन दावरा नेचुरल नोदे राम नेचुरल एनवायरनमेंट ना बिसाको फरायंगा बिसानि गमन फरायंगा एंदियोबा पार्टिसिपेंट नोदे ना बिसाको फरायन बक्सा ना अंथांगबा बाक्रायंगा बिनि एक्टिविटी रंगो बाक्रा अफायंगाने सो आई बिलीव दैट आई वाज एबल टू make your concept clear on naturalistic observation method of child study and participant observational method of child study. Alright, so in the next video, let's see what we have. So thank you everyone for staying connected with the show tutorials Meghalay's first MTET channel. Thank you.